There are two methods to configure the AlphaPix line of controllers with their base settings. One of them is using the built-in LCD display and buttons, and the second is using a web browser interface on any kind of device, whether that be a Mac, Windows, Linux, tablet, or other device. In this video, we are going to cover how to use the LCD and button interface to configure the initial settings. Be aware that not every single advanced option is configurable through the LCD interface, only major settings. Let's go ahead and power the unit up. We see that it indicates first the firmware version and its static IP address. Now this controller is not in idle mode yet. It's just going through all of the settings, and you're going to see it's telling us all the major settings, such as whether it's in ArtNet or E131, and our output protocol, such as 2811. Now when it gets to one of these menus, let's see, it says to press and hold M to go into test mode, or to just press M to configure. So we're just going to press it once, and now we're in the menu for configuring the settings. Now, this setup option works very similar to all other devices that use LCD displays and buttons, like printers, for example. So what we're going to do is press some buttons. These buttons are down here. They're labeled M, S, plus, minus, and OK. So these are the major settings, and we're going to go ahead and just cycle through the major headings in the configuration. So let's go ahead and press M to go back, and press and hold in this case. So we're back in the configuration. We're going to press M to set up, and we're going to press the M again. There's the output 1. There are 16 outputs on this unit, so if we cycle through them, we're going to see all 16 outputs are there. And we're not going to delve down into those outputs. And then we have the RS-45 outputs. In this particular case, we have 3 of them. And then we can load the defaults from memory if we get something messed up. And we can go into the details about the controller, serial number, and the type of controller. And finally, we're back here at the IP address, which indicates we have a static IP address set up. So we're going to go ahead and hit the S to select. And the first thing we can do is we can select DHCP or static. And in this particular case, we could say yes by hitting the plus, or minus to configure no. And if we want to configure an IP address, we can then, of course, go up or down. So we're going to do 192.168.0.50, which is our correct address. I'm going to click OK, OK. And we're going to go ahead and hit the M button and reboot the controller, because that's a major setting that gets changed and it needs to reboot. So we're going to go back in. It's in normal mode. We're going to hit the M button. We're going to go through our setup. Now let's look at an output setup, for example. So we're going to select that. We can select the DMX universe that is used for output 1. So here we have DMX, or the output 1, output 2. You can see they're all labeled on the controller board. We can then change this setting. And click OK. And then we can continue on through our settings. So let's go ahead and delve a little bit deeper. So this is output 5, universe 5. And so we're going to go ahead and press the S button to cycle through the next setting that's available. So we set the universe, and now we can set the DMX start address, the number of pixels, which in this case is the maximum number configurable on an output for this controller, which is 340. We can set number of null pixels, zigzag pixels, reverse pixels, and we're back at the beginning. So let's go ahead and go through the remaining settings here. These would, of course, all be the same for each output. And we get to the DMX 512. We select. We have it currently turned off. You can turn it on or off. And we can select the universe that is this. This in this case is 35. So this means this output right here is output 1 for RS-45, DMX 512, and it's set to universe 1 and DMX start address 1. And we can go through this. And we're going to go through those 3 outputs. We can load the defaults. And we're going to go ahead and select that. We can say OK. It's going to load all of the settings and reboot. Here we've rebooted. The settings are back to where they were from factory, and our default IP address is 192.168.0.50. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the setup, go to the end of the remaining settings. So we had the 3 outputs, the load to default, and finally your serial number and the type of controller and its name. Actually, this can be changed using the website. And finally, we're back at the Start menu. So that's how easy it is to configure the given settings using the interface on the LCD for your AlphaPix controller.